What's up, team? So a lot of people have been hating on Stadia, and I can't really see what all the fuss is about. I was around when Steam decided to shake things up with their newfangled virtual game store, and some people on the internet hated that as well. I can't help but feel a similar minority is yelling really loudly about Stadia right now too. So I wanted to say, Stadia's fine, and here's why. A friend of mine went ahead and pre-ordered the Stadia controller and a Chromecast Ultra. He, like so many others, were rightly upset with all the delays in shipment, but once it arrived, oh man was he stoked. And I was intrigued, so I started to do some research. At its core, Stadia is an online game service which anyone can now access and play on their computer using their own gamepad and keyboard and mouse. Think Steam with a tiny fraction of the game library, and you never install the games, instead you play them over the internet. Now, if you buy the Premier Edition, you will get the ability to cast your games to virtually any screen with the internet in your house. And your Chromecast Ultra can display the video in 4K. The Stadia controller also has a built-in microphone so that you can spew venomous remarks back at the kid who murdered you. What's more is that you can pause the game and literally transfer it to your computer, your phone, your TV, or whatever you got set up. The service also has a built-in game capture feature so you can record your game footage. Okay, so why all the hate? I've only seen a few arguments that are even worth discussing. 1, you need good internet to run it. 2, the shop is laughably small currently. And 3, although the sale prices seem to be competitive with other online game platforms, these sales are only available to people who pay for the Stadia subscription. So my aforementioned friend had a buddy pass, which he gifted to me, giving me Stadia Pro for 3 months. At first I had 25 megabits per second, which had some snags in frame rate and intermittent resolution dips while the image caught up with my game. I personally didn't mind it since I was playing through some games which didn't always need split-second reactions or pinpoint accuracy. But I wanted to try Stadia with better internet for this review, so now I'm rocking 50 megabits per second, and the service is noticeably better. I still found some small snags and hiccups which would be hard to overlook for someone who's seriously competitive in FPS or fighting games, since any lag, no matter how small, would be ruinous. To be clear, this was my personal experience, and it happened maybe 1 or 2 times in a given gaming session of an hour or more, so take that ratio and see what you can tolerate. Currently, Stadia doesn't have a very big library. They have a few big names, an okay variety of other games, and a target audience that is clearly those 20 plus gamers. People are also complaining that Stadia doesn't have any exclusives or some other nonsense. But I hate the practice of exclusive game titles anyways, so we'll have to wait and see where Google ultimately puts their game acquisition funding. Either way, this is a non-issue for me. We all know Google will be dropping tons of cash on games, so just check back later to see if they have the games you want. A subscription gives you Destiny 2 plus its 3 DLCs and access to a pair of free games to add to your library each month, which you can keep as long as you continue to subscribe. You also get access to sale prices, which is something I'm not crazy about since these sales aren't available to non-subscribers. You can still buy games, but it's always at full price. So in the end, I'm interested, but I'm ultimately going to wait a bit until Google improves their library. I already own many of these games on Steam, and I don't even have time to play them all, so I have no real reason to start building a second library on a different service. However, I did seriously consider buying Red Dead Redemption on Stadia since that game is 115 gigabytes, and it would be nice to avoid downloading and installing a game of that size on my hard drive. The convenience of having massive titles already installed, updated, and running on an SSD is a huge lure. I mean, if Steam decided to go ahead and match this online game option, I wouldn't need to leave. But right now, Stadia is the only platform which gave me a good enough reason to consider curating 2 platforms instead of 1. Oh, and another thing. Currently, VR is one of the coolest things I own. But I recently had to upgrade my computer to play Half-Life Alyx in March, and now I'm a grand lighter in the bank account. If Google somehow finds a way to make lag low enough to trick people in VR, then mass adoption is right around the corner. And before you say this will never happen, honestly, 3 years ago VR happened, and within 1 year people were already developing and selling wireless VR headsets and finger tracking options, and I, for one, am optimistic. Sure, I'm not excited about the spend money to save money model where a subscription is the only way to get sales, but in sum, wicked idea, Google, and I hope it grows since this model really feels like playing in the year 2077. So be quiet, Stadia's fine. Wait and check back later, or dismiss it and stick with what you already have, I don't care, but Stadia is an awesome idea backed by a huge company with a strong data and network infrastructure. It may not be the brand of gaming you like, but offsite computing and game streaming is the future.